Hello, good day, everyone. We're live with Future of Work 24 Hours. I'm here with my friend Lucas, and we're talking about unimagined possibilities today. So,
Thank you for having me, April.
Lucas, um, with QiqoChat, which is going to be our event platform for the Future of Work 24 Hours event. Um, One of the things, the reason why we've chosen that is that you're always stretching what's possible. We take unimagined possibilities and we figure out, oh, how can I make that happen? Get kind of close. Could you tell us more about that?
Sure. Well, you're no stranger to QiqoChat. You helped us envision our last two user conferences, and working with you is fantastic. Uh, Together, we came up with stretch what's possible for that, and that is the way that we think of Kiko. It's always how can we help people do what they want to do? How can people be human with each other? How can facilitators allow for the collective intelligence of their participants to bubble up, to emerge from the participation of everyone? So, personally, I've loved going to your future of work events. They they were very impactful. There was the first one where that I participated in was 24 hours, and you were handing off across the Pacific Ocean to another group that was going to be opening in Japanese.
Mhm.
It was so impactful for me, made me realize what the platform is capable of. So, unimagined possibilities. Well, I don't know. This is a really heavy time in the world. There's groups that are doing the opposite of collaboration with each other, and we have to continue as facilitators and organizers, continue to find ways to bring people together, because it can't happen fast enough, because there's all sorts
Mhm.
of different directions that humans are being pulled in, and there's a lot of conflict. And what we do in the workplace and the future of work, it it also affects our culture, our society, and how our societies affect each other across boundaries. It's hugely important.
So, one of the things that people don't know, that a lot of people are feeling different things about the world and what's happening. For example, like Ukraine. But there was something happening before Ukraine, and you have been exploring um, how to help others. Could you share how you've uh, reimagined supporting people and the stuff that you've done? I'll let you kind of give insight in that because I think it's wonderful.
Um, well, I'm thinking about how far I want to go back. So when I was in my young 20s, I was deployed as an army officer in Iraq, and I realized that there's a lot of boundaries between cultures, and I just thought we need to. And it was a controversial war for a lot of reasons, but I'm over there, and one of my jobs was to help build some bridges with the local population, and one project was getting photographs from Americans just smiling and waving, and then our translators would write "Salam alaikum," peace, and then the person's name, and handing these out to people that didn't have um, cameras, and they didn't have books. It was a very impoverished place where we were, in a part of Baghdad, and just that idea of communicating information across an ocean and handing it to someone in the form of a picture. Picture's worth 1,000 words. But now you fast forward 18 years, and information's flying so quickly across boundaries, across technologies, and bringing people together. It's not just about getting them in the same place in the same spot, but also how do they approach each other in a respectful way, and how do they find ways to bring each other together and not push each other away. I was in the National Coalition for Dialogue and Deliberation, and there's a great group of people, if a very affordable association to be a part of. something like $75, and they've got tremendous resources, very good natured people, bridging people across different divides in the workplace and in society, National Coalition for Dialogue and Deliberation. And people working on all sorts of conflicts inside the United States, across boundaries. Yeah, conflict is just it's just the human condition at the present moment, and it has been for a long time. It'd be nice to imagine that it won't always be.
Yes. Um, it's the fact that like work includes people work um, trying to solve conflict. It's the big elephant that's there. When we're in these tech companies and all these other places, sometimes we forget that the work of social impact to create a better world for others beyond ourselves, to think about the collective, the whole.
Absolutely. Also, uh, people become very aware of their differences in the United States, and that often gets in the way of work. And a lot of organizations, they're just discovering how to elevate people's differences in a good way, in not a way that excludes. And that's constant work. And in order to have the future of work, you need the future of teams, and the future of teams needs the future of people seeing themselves and seeing each other and relating to each other. And just seeing a lot of people even using QiqoChat to have those internal work conversations. There's so much potential for bringing people together more productively.
Mhm.
And I'm not an expert in that. I just help on the tech side. But as I see people designing these online experiences to bring people together, I know that we're still just scratching the surface. And Zoom has only really made to the mainstream in the last 2 years. So much more is possible. What we'll be doing online in 3 years from now is going to be a light years ahead of where we are now.
Hmm. What do you think is like for me when I think about unimagined possibilities and how tech can play a role in that? Because I think tech is what's gonna play a role in like helping resolve conflict, and we've seen how people are thinking certain things are going to be easy, but because technology kind of is a disruptor, and how do we make it be a positive disruptor?
Well, one thing I've seen you experimenting with in your events is bridging the language divide. I think that's a very fruitful place for a lot of progress to be made. Still, the tools are not where they need to be, so that where they're invisible, or totally you just see right through them and you just see the other person on the other side. Right now we still stumble a bit, but it's making tremendous leaps. So I think that that's going to be a huge step forward when people can communicate across language barriers. Um, that would be the first one that comes to mind.
One of the things that we're trying to do is because I've been a part of bilingual spaces, and I felt like, man, they were terrible. And like I was challenged to do something better is because it felt like translation in English first. And what a privilege,
Hmm.
uh, a way to hold a space, and it felt kind of yucky. And what I'm trying, it won't be perfect. It'll be a little bit messy, but
Hmm.
hopefully we're gonna make inroads there. Is that where we actually dialogue? So if you speak to me in another language, I return back in my language, and vice versa, and we do that through a translation app. And that feels to me that feels generative. It feels like it's taking a step forward versus my language being the first language where we're all doing put in a little effort there, and I think it makes a world uh,
I completely
change.
agree. It also changes the person to be a traveler, to be a visitor for a moment into another space, is humbling, and we all need that. We are better people when we are all humbled. Just recently traveling to a place where English was not the first language, and about 5 months ago, and it had been several years since I'd done that, and I didn't speak the language there, and it was humbling. And you just see everything from a fresh perspective when you're walking around the streets. And it's got to be the same way in our collaborations. We have to question ourselves, question our assumptions, and being thrown off of our comfort zone with language is a very easy way to, when the question here is unimagined possibilities, that's how we can reimagine new things, as we just look at the things that are right in front of our face with a fresh beginner's mind.
Hmm. Yeah. It puts us in a space of being creators, honestly. We're saying like, oh, like if you had that magic wand, what do you think can do? What feels too big to happen? Like what feels too big right now, Lucas? Uh, what feels unimaginable? Like putting voice to it, and, and let's talk about like how might that be a reality?
Is that the question for me? What seems too big right now?
Hmm.
Well, I think that generally people like things to be comfortable. So there's an inherent tension with keeping things the way they are versus changing them. And I think that no one wants anything to be taken from them, but people do want to give things away often. They want to be generous, but they don't want to be generous to other people that they don't like. So I think really the first steps are, how do we build empathy at scale so that you can give
Hmm.
what others need? It doesn't have to be taken away. Um, People will give more than they would have taken away from them in order to solve some problem. I think that's generally a big problem, is that groups are generally very defensive. All groups, the haves and have-nots, and everything in between is we're all on the defensive because the other side's on the defensive, and we need to back off a bit, back off from the edge. We're pulling each other into canyons, and it doesn't end well.
Yeah. I think for me as someone who's an empath and I kind of leverage empathy for all spaces, even creating this future of work 24 hours. I completely get it, and that I know that empathetic people are curious. So it's think, oh, how do we build
Mm.
curiosity, right? And it's kind of like the conversation we had a little bit earlier with the photo. As you say, a picture
Mhm.
is worth a thousand words. If people, when they get insights into others' uh, homes, others' world, right, and not only see things from their perspective. Um, I think that's a part of it. That's one of the things that technology has given us, like Zoom or other different things, like uh, this upcoming conference where I can speak to people from all over the globe and build relationships with them. Over this pandemic, I've created strong bonds with people from so many different countries, and that is because technology is more accessible for people. We have different meetups and people
Mhm.
from different places like, oh, I can make that. It's not just people local to my area joining conversations anymore. It's people in other areas. So when you start building relationships with those, I think that builds more empathy. I have a friend who is from India, and then like India and Pakistan, right? Constantly at war with one another. She said, but when we get in a room together and we show up at this event,
Mm.
it's no issue. That's other problems with other people, right? There's other factors. You have to understand there's people behind all these conflicts, right? And how do we connect to the people, like the people that are the unheard voices, right?
Absolutely agree with that. I think one giant problem is that people don't have a lot of time to build empathy. People are busy. It seems like busier than ever. There are just more and more demands, more notifications and pings and emails and everything. You could spend all day in and on your email and never finish. There's always something more to do. So because there's always something in front of our face that gives us immediate feedback as to whether we've done it or not. As a
Mhm.
society, as individuals, we don't do the things that are more long term, slow burning, um, building bridges. And I think that's
Yeah.
what's needed. But and also, I mean, the economy, a lot of people are concerned about it. So they're they don't want to, rightfully so. They don't want to spend a lot of time solving big problems. They want to solve the immediate problem that affects them right here. And when we all do that, when we all shortchange the commons, we get a shortchanged commons, and no one person can fix that. It takes culture change. I think what you and other leading facilitators are doing is finding new ways to bring people together. You mentioned how we're all together instantly across national boundaries, across time zones. And the neat thing is, we are at our own homes and we are together at the same time. That's a very interesting combination that is now normal. And we accept people for whatever's going on in their background. We accept people. We see that their lives are different. I think that's a huge step forward in terms of not everyone has to be in an office and dressed a certain way, and people need the flexibility for what's going on in their lives. So I think that empathy is built that way, not because people wanted to give it space, but because there was no other option during the pandemic. You had to accept people as they were, where they were. And I hope that we never forget that. I hope we build on it. I hope this is the start of more and more deeper connections.
Yeah, it's definitely that I'm not look I'm not ever looking to go back to the past, but continue moving forward and say, what else? What else? What else? And that's the unimagined possibilities, right? What else can we do?
Well, I look forward to being there in just about a week. So it's like every one of your events, personally impactful, and I encourage anybody who's watching this live stream to sign up. It's gonna be great because it always is.
Well, do you have any party words, Lucas?
No, no, I mean, this was a really nice interview right out of the gate. I What I'm impressed by is, like, your ingenuity for, like, bridging multiple social media feeds with one live stream. I haven't participated in anything like this, and I think that, I don't know, I'm learning from it personally. Um, I don't know, I'd come out of this conversation hopeful, honestly. I think your energy is contagious in a great way, and, I'm hopeful that there people are gonna they're going to be meet together when you host the event. They're going to enjoy each other's company in unexpected ways. For those that have been there before, they're going to come back to recharge. And just by hosting the event, it's going to make a difference at that scale. And it's also going to open up people's minds that more is possible at bigger and bigger scales. And we're just going to have to get better and better at it and keep innovating along the way.
Oh, thank you, Lucas. And as Lucas said, we are streaming live from LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter. So we invite you to follow, like, share, comment, subscribe. I guess it depends on which platform you're on for those capabilities. And if you don't know, Lucas is with QiqoChat, and QiqoChat is wraparound tools, and that's our event platform. We're so excited because we've experimented with so many different things. So we invite you to check it out um, at any time. And we thank you so much.
Thank you very much, April.